Hi friends, this is Manish Pandey. Welcome back. Today in this tutorial we are going to learn about the Reef framework project input from the Excel and output to the Excel. It means we'll take the input from the Excel file and process each items and update the status of each transaction in the Excel sheet against each column or each cell. Okay, and as of now you have learned how to work with the Reef framework using queue, how to apply the business logic, how to add the items to the queue. But now I'm going to tell you to work with the Excel and the data table, because first we'll read the data from the Excel and then write to the data table, and we'll read one by one from the data table and process each items. So here there is no use of queue, so we'll start one by one here. So I have already created one demo. I'm going to show you how that should look like, and then I will show you the step by step process. How can I read the data from the data table and process? You can see the screenshot here that we have the status and remarks in the Excel along with the input data like cash in, on US check and not on US check. So in the status, that will be updated as a success, skipped or failed. Success will be for the successful processed data, and skipped if there is any business rule exception, and failed is for the any system error. And the remarks will be updated based on the status, like item processed, records are not numeric, can't process. So this is something like business logic. I have taken only one and I'm going to show you only one here. As per your requirement you can include as many as you want. So let me open the UiPath Studio and I'm going to show you one by one here the demo and the steps. Now you can see this is the UiPath Studio. The icon has been changed now because I am using 2019.9.0. so this is the new version, latest version, and it seems that design shows that S for the studio. So this is the project I have created here for the Excel. Read the data from the Excel and process. And let me open the project folder here, and in the data tab, data folder, we have the one for the like UI demo application.exe on which we are going to work, and then this is for the input Excel file transactions.xlsx, and this is config file in which we have the configuration data, the orchestra queue name, which now not required because we are not going to work with the queue, and this is UI demo application path, and this is the business process name, and this is the input file location, and this is the seat name. And here in the constants we have the maximum retry number 1, because earlier when we were working with the queue that was 0. You can see the description must be 0 if working with the orchestra queue. Okay, so we are not working with that, so the UiPath Studio, the project, will take the maximum retry number from the config sheet, and this all will be the same. We are not going to do anything here. So now I'm going to close this and open the transactions XLSX file. Here you can see we have the 3 input columns, cash in, on US check and not on US check, and we have the 2 additional columns here, status and remarks. So once this record successfully processed, it will update here success, and the remarks will be item processed. And once this record will be processed, so it has the business rule exception, so it will update here skipped, and it will update the message something like records are not numeric, cannot process. So by this way we'll update the each items status and remarks. Okay, so now close this, and first time I'm going to show you the demo. Let me run this, control F5. So here it will read the data from the Excel file like config and store to the dictionary, read the data from the transaction file, store to the data table, and one by one it will read the data from the data table and process each items on UI demo application. So you can see here, and now I'm just going to close this because this is working and this is just the demo. Okay, now let's see the output file. Okay, so as of now we have just processed 15 to 16 records here, and the status has been updated against each records, like success, item processed, skipped, records are not numeric, and processed. So this is the business rule exception. Now let me clear this because we are going to use again the new one. Now save this, close this, and let me take one new project here. So go to home, and now as I told you that I am using here the latest version 2009.9.0, so we'll have the something different designed here. This side we have the open project, like open a local project, clone or checkout, this is for the TFS purpose, and we have the recent open projects. And this side, the right side, we have the new projects and new templates. So I'm going to take, you can see here the orchestration process also we have something, and background process. Okay, so now I'm going to click on the robotic enterprise framework, and now let me change the name, framework Excel project. Okay, the location will be same. I'm just putting here take input from Excel and process. Now create this, and in between I'm going to copy like this input file and config file, and I will replace with the current data. So this is the new we have taken from the studio, and now I'm going to open this project folder, this one, and this one will be deleted because I'm not going to change anything, as I already shown you here that we need to just update the location, application location, and seat name. So I'm just deleting this and paste. Okay, so we are going to use this config Excel file in which we have the application path name and the input file name, input seat name. This is something which we require now. Now close this, and this is the same Excel file, that is input file. And now let me first open the config file and set up the process one by one. Okay, so first, like as of now you worked with the queue, so in the queue we have the two things, first the queue name and second the transaction item, right? It means the queue item. So transaction item is the variable name, the argument, and the variable type is queue item. Okay, uipath.co.queue items, and we have the queue name, and here we are working with the Excel file. Then we have also two things, first data table and second data row. So in the queue we have the queue to store the data, and the queue items as a transaction item to get the data from the queue. Same here in the Excel, we have the data table to store the items there, and now we have the data row to get the data from the table. So one by one we'll get the row, the records from the data table. Now first thing, we need to read the data from the Excel file, the input file, because everything is good, like the read config file is good, so we just need to read the data from the Excel file and store to the data table. So let me show you here in the init. As you know that init here, if you don't know about the overview of this reframework, you can go through my previous video, and also I will put the link to the description. You will go through that video. So as we have the 4 stages: init, get transaction, process transaction, and end process. Here we'll initialize all the applications and settings. Here we'll get the transaction data from the data table or the queue or like database. Here we'll process each items, and after that we'll close that process. Okay, so here I'm going to open the applications and read the data from the Excel file. Okay, now in this init or settings we have the settings configurations, and now this is for the save job arguments. This is for the orchestra queue name. We do not require, we can comment out or we can delete this. And now, so before working on the init applications, I am going to first read the data from the Excel file, the input file. So after the initialize the settings like config data, and after the kill all process, I am going to put here the read range activity, because I am going to read the data from the Excel file. So either you can take the read range from the workbook, not from the Excel, from the workbook, or you can take the Excel application scope and take this one. So directly I am going to take this and put here. So before that I am just taking one sequence here, and this is for the add items to data table, and take the rearrange. This is from the workbook, read input data, and the path will be, as you know that we have the all the config file data in the dictionary. So we have the dictionary that is available here, config open close bracket, and let me take the name of that the input file name. So we have the input file name here, data slash transaction. So copy this name. So I hope you have the knowledge about the dictionary. If you don't know about that, please go through my previous video. You can search that config dictionary and you can learn that. Also I will put the link to the video description. Okay, so now you can see here I'm just putting here the input file from the config, and it will get the name from here. And now we have the seat name. So currently we have only one seat name here, input, and we'll just put here the config. And one more thing I'm going to tell you, that one of my subscribers has asked me that if you have the multiple seat data, if I'm going to read the data from the multiple seat, so how can we do that? So as of now you have seen that in the here in the init all settings we are using this for each seats in config seat, and you can see the arguments here. In the config seats we have the two seat names, settings and constants. Same as this, we can take one variable for this like in input seat, and we can pass the all these multiple seat names here, and we can use the for each activity, and we'll read one by one the seat name from that array of the string of array something, and then again one by one we'll read the data and we'll add the items to the data table. So by this way we can do that. Now currently we have only one, so I'm going to show you here. Okay, now delete this, we do not require it, will take automatically all this range, and go to the properties here, and let's take a variable type data table. So as we are using the template, we already have the data table name variable, that is transaction data here. So we'll take that one, transaction data. Okay, and now one more thing, as here we are using the data row, so data row start with the 0 always, so we can take our transaction number as a 0. We'll take here 0. And one more thing, everywhere where like the queue item is there in the variable type, that should be replaced with the system.data.data row. So first I'm going to start with this. So change the transaction item variable type from the queue item to, because we are not going to work with the queue, we are going to work with the data row, data table. So we'll write here system dot data dot data row. Okay, so you can see here this has been automatically selected because we have written the full name. Now select this. Okay, so anywhere if we are getting the variable type that is queue item, that should be replaced with the data row. So we'll take a look one by one in all the XML file. So here in the first run we are taking this because if first time, like first day, first time they are running the project, so first time it will add the items to the data table. Okay, and for the as a best practice I can say we can use the log also here, and this is for reading input data from Excel file. Okay, and now here we can take after this records have been added to data table. So it will show to the user the log message that here the reading input data from the Excel file, and if this is successful then it will show that this message like records have been added to the data table. Now our first step is read the data from the Excel file and store to the data table. Now we require the applications on which we are going to automate. So after this we have the init applications. So in the init applications we will open this workflow, and init all applications means initialize all the applications. It means open all the applications. So we need the credentials. So credential we have stored in the assets UiPath orchestrator. So we'll read the credentials from there. So for that we already have one XML file that is inside the framework. I already told you about the in my reframework overview video. So we'll take this get app credentials. You can see here it has the it will read the data from the assets, and if it is not there then it will read the data from the credential manager, and if it still is not there in the credential manager it will request from the user, and then it will make a secure password, and then the application will be logged in automatically. So what we'll do, we will use this one first here. Okay, so we have the here out username, in credential, and out password. So for that let me open this workflow, and here in the get app credentials let me change the name, the assets name. So this is the argument name, the argument name is here, this one in credentials. So let me change the value. So value we are going to take this UI demo credentials. So as you know that credential of the UI demo is username is admin and password is just password in the small letter. So we need to just replace this one here, paste. So automatically it will apply to the get assets. Okay, and the output value will in the out password and out username. Okay, so that's it. Save this, import the arguments, take here as a username, Control K, username, and this will be the password, Control K, password, press OK, Save this. So here we are able to get the data credentials from the assets or the credential manager. So I hope you know all these things about that. If you don't know, then you can go through my previous video. I will recommend you to watch that video. And now we need to open the applications. So for open the applications, we have the activity that is open application. So as we are using the Windows applications, so we need to take this open application activity and now open the uidemo.exe folder, the application, indicate on the screen and click on this. So it will update. Here you can see the file name. It shows here F drive UiPath practice, then under this we have the file name. But as we already using here the config file name, and this is the application location, so we'll directly use the configuration here. Let me open this and we'll remove this because that can be changed. Let's suppose after some time we are putting this, changing the location of the application, and we are just, so we can directly change in the config file. But if we are just putting here the hard coded value, that F drive, then that will throw an error. So that's why I'm going to take here the config. So we have the, I think config name is in config, open close bracket, paste the name and then .toString. That's it, and then press OK. Let me check this. Why are we getting error? Okay, so as you can see here, we are getting error due to, okay, now press OK. And after that we need the 3 activities. First, type into. Second, type secure text, and third, click. So I hope you are able to understand why I am taking these 3 activities. First, indicate element for the username, take this. Second, for the password, so this will be always the secure, this will user and this is password, okay, and this is for the click on login. Okay, so name has been automatically replaced here, login pass. So this time this is not required to change. If you are working on any like business project, then you can put here the name suitable to it, like the password, type password, click on login, something like that. You can follow the best practice. And here I'm just putting here the username. So we have the variable in which we have the value, and for the type secure we have the password. And why this is a type secure, you know that this is for the secure strings, and this is login. Okay, so we can select the simulate click here so that I can show you in the background also how it's working. Okay, so now it is done. For the best practice also, we can take a element exists, so it will check for the application is successfully logged or not. So now manually we will have to put the password, admin and password, and we'll check here, indicate element on the screen, click here, and we'll take one variable, control K, login success. Okay, so we'll take this variable and we can take one if condition here, just here. If it is true, then we'll just log a message here, UI demo application opened successfully, and else part will not put anything. Okay, now let me check the arguments. Do you have anything, the queue something, queue item? Okay, now this is done. Close this, save this, and now we are done with the open applications. And here we have the kill process. So let me put here something like for the kill process we have the kill process activity. I am going to take just Excel here, EXCL. Sorry, we have to put here in the process name. So first time it will close the Excel file, and then we will take one more kill process. So it will kill the UI demo application process name. So what is the process name? Let me check here, the user details, the process name. Let me see here, process name. Okay, so we have the UI demo.exe. So let me put here the UI demo.exe. Okay, now save this, close this. There's no arguments I think to import. Okay, so init part has been done. Now we need to read the data from the, like, get the transaction data from the Excel file, from the data table. So we have it is success, then go here. If it is error, then it will end the process. So now come here, let me first check here for the queue items. We have changed, everything is not okay, so we have changed here data to, and now go to the init here, everything is done. Go to the get transaction data, and here we have the variable. So now here first, as you know that here if sudo stop is there, then it will stop the project, and in the else part we'll get the transaction data. So we'll just open the workflow and write the process here. So in the get transaction data, first I'm going to see the variables, we have anything or not for the queue items related. Okay, in the arguments we have, yes, so we have the out transaction item as a queue items. Let me change and replace with the system.data.data row. That's done. Now you can see here the get transaction item. This is to work with the queue, so it will look for the queue name and store the data into the transaction item. So now it is not required. We'll remove this, and here instead of this we are just putting here one thing, like we'll check here in transaction number. So transaction number start with the 0, so we are just putting the condition here less than. We have the data table here, because now I am going to put the condition here, if transaction number is less than the records which is available in the data table, then it will go to the true section, and if it is not true, then it will go to the else part. Okay, so here we'll take the data table variable. So we have the data table variable is the IO underscore transaction data. So we'll put here IO underscore transaction data dot rows. This is the property of the transaction data table dot rows dot, and this is the method we are going to use. This is also one type of like properties dot count. So what will happen here, it has the 1 like 0 first time. As you can see here in the main we have defined as a 0 in default value, and here it will show you the count of the records which is in the data table. So it will be the 25 currently we have the 25 records in the transaction.xlsx file, and now you can see here it will go to the true section and it will write the transactions info into the login fields. So do you know what is the use of this logging fields? So this is something like these three items like records will be logged into the log file, like this is for the log message. Okay, so either you can see these details from the press here Control L, so it will open the logs and see the executions.log, and now here you will see, okay, so here you can see the log f transaction ID, transaction field 1, field 2 and field 3. Okay, so it will update the here the number here. Okay, and I will show you later where these files are used to log the message here. So we have the variable here out transaction field 1, out transaction ID and out transaction field 2. Okay, so we are going to use this, or if you want to change then you can change here as per requirement, but we'll have to use this. Here currently we have the string.empty, so it will pass the only empty value, there will be no data. But if you want to pass here, then you can, let's suppose if you want to pass here the value which is coming from the Excel file, that in check something, so we can take here in we have the transaction item, out transaction item dot item open close bracket, and we have to write the name which is in the column. So we'll take this casein, paste this, so here what will happen, this time it will not pass a blank value, it will pass a casein value from here one by one for each records. It will pass 599 to the log file. Okay, so you can change here as per requirement also, or you can leave it as it is. Now this is done, we are able to get the data from the data table only with the use of this in transaction number less than this. And now close this, import the arguments from here if we have, because we have changed the queue items to the data row, so this has been changed here and everything will be same. Now here we just need to pass here the transaction item. Okay, so in the get transaction data XML file we have the arguments out transaction item, but here we have to pass the value, so we'll have to take this transaction item, this is the existing one, and save this. Now you can see here we are getting the validation error here because we have changed the UiPath code.queue item to the data row. So we just remove this, nothing, and save this. This is because the project has not been refreshed, that's why we're getting error, this validation message. Now again try to put here nothing. Okay, now error has been resolved. Now we are getting error somewhere here in this section. Okay, so we are getting the validation here also, same thing. Save this and remove this, again save this and put here again the nothing, the same as, and error has been gone. So this is not any error, this is just a refresh issue. So now this is done, and now we are coming to the new transaction and no data. Okay, so before this, here in the get transaction data we need to check one thing in the invoke open workflow. As you can see here, we have to set out transaction equal to nothing. You can see here it is your responsibility to set out transaction item to nothing. Thus ending the process. So it means it will check here if not less than, it means the else what we can do. So in the else we have to take one assign activity, so that process will be ended. So we'll write here out transaction item equal to nothing. It means there is no records here, because as per the condition you can see here, if it's less than, then it will go here. If it is not, then in the else it will log log here nothing to the assign the value nothing to the out transaction item, and once it has the nothing, then it will go to the end process. Now save this. Now come to the new transition. This is the node, like the transitions, and in which we have the conditions here. So new transition, so we'll write here same thing we can write in transaction number, or like transaction number less than transaction data dot rows dot count. So it will check here if less than transaction the data count, then it will go to the process transaction. The destination is process transaction, and if it is not, it means the transaction item is nothing, then it will go to the end process. As you have seen there in the else part, we have specified, we have taken the assign and then out transaction item is nothing, equal to nothing, right? So here it will check if nothing, then end process. Now go to the process here, and let's check here the arguments. Do you have any? Okay, so we don't have any queue items. Now we have the warning message here. Now open the workflow, and whatever we have to do, we'll do here in the process transactions. So first we will take one here. Let me the attach window. Before that, we'll take one log message here. So it will just log a message that process are going to started. Process getting started. Okay. So it will just log a message, and then we'll take one attach window, and we'll use the same window, which that is UI demo, and then we'll start working one by one. We'll take the type into activity, and this type into activity is for the on US check, like in check, and this is for the on US check, and this is for not on US check. And we'll take one click activity is for the accept. Okay, now we'll put the cursor here one by one, indicate on the screen. This is for the cache-in, and this is for the on US check, and this is not on US check. And at the end we'll take on accept, and then one by one we'll pass the value here, because here we have the data in the data row variable. So the data row variable is the in transaction items, and then I think we have to take the directly we can pass here open close bracket, in the double quotation we'll pass this name cache-in, dot okay. So this is something like refreshed issue. Let me check. We have the okay. So issue is here. We are getting the queue item. Need to change to the data row. and then issue will be resolved. So let me check here dot, let me check here, we have the item. Okay, then open close bracket, paste this, then dot to string. Okay, copy the same thing here and put here in the all rest of the, this is for the on US check. Copy this, and this is for not on US check. Save this and just take this as a simulate click. So you can, let me select on indicate, click on indicate and click on indicate. Save this, and then again we have the click accept, click on simulate click and save this. Okay, so this is only for the processing items. Now we have to apply the business logic. So for that we have to take the if condition. So we'll take here if condition or the if activity, we'll drag and drop here after the log message, and then we will take this part inside the true section here, and now we'll put the condition here in the here, that we'll check for the numeric value. Let's suppose we are passing here the numbers here, and now here we are passing the alphabetics or like non-numeric values. So we'll check for this. If the records are numeric, then it will be successful, otherwise it will throw a business exception and it will log a message according to this, and also it will update the status and remarks. So we'll check here, and for that, to check the numeric value, we have to write one condition here, that we have a is numeric and open bracket. So you can see here, this is the function information dot is numeric expression as object as boolean. So here we have to pass this column name. So for that we will pass here because we have this value in the in transaction item. So we'll take this in transaction item, open close bracket, and in the double quotation we can pass the column name in which we are going to get the data, the records. Okay, or you can also write here in transaction item dot item, right? So it will also take here. If you will not write dot item, then also it will work. So it will check here if in transaction item this column has a numeric value, then it will go to the then section, like true section. Otherwise in the else section it will mark as a business exception. So what can we do for the business exception? As you know that if you have seen my previous video, then in that I have already told about the how to apply the business rule exception in the project, in the ReefRamework project. But I'm going to apply here. So before that we are not only using here the only for one column, we can also take here or for these three columns. If any of these columns has the non-numeric value, then that will be exception, rule, business rule exception. So we'll take copy paste here. So we'll take or condition here, or operator, and we'll write here on US check. Okay, same as this, on US check, and then we'll take one not on US check. So again we'll copy this expression, copy, and write one more or, and this will be not on US check. Okay, so if any of these condition true, then it will go here. Otherwise, in the false else section, we will take one throw activity, so it will throw, and it will throw a business rule exception here. So how can we throw? For that, we have to here in the expression editor, we have to write here new business rule exception in the open bracket, close bracket, double quotation. And now we'll have to write here our custom message, that is like records are not numeric, cannot process. Okay, and we'll just press OK. So now what will happen? Once it will go to the else section, it will throw a exception. So once it will get the exception, then it will go to the here in the, let me show you. It will once there is a error in the this invoke process workflow, it will go to the catches section, and here it has the exception, because it will get the exception from the throw exception here, and then it will have the exception, and after that it will go to the finally. So that is necessary, as you know that the try catch section, the finally, after executing this part try, and if any error occurs, then it will go to the catches section, and after that it will go to the finally section. So here we have to write something. So let me check here in the arguments. So we have the queue item here. We can change this transition item queue item to the system.data.data row, system.data.data row, and we'll take this. Let's see in the variables. Okay, we don't have anything. Now here this is showing that in business rule exception is nothing, and in system is nothing. If it is true, then it will go to the success. So I will have to make changes to this one also. So here we have the condition in transition item is not nothing, and also in transition item dot get type is get type uipath.co.queue items. So we'll have to make changes here. We can remove this uipath.co.queue items, and we can write here system.data.data row. Okay, so it will check here if the type is system.data.data row and the transition item is not nothing, then it will go to the true section, and here it will set the transition status as a successful. So currently we are not using the queue, so and we have to update this Excel file here in that cell against that. So let's suppose we have this first record 599, and this is successful because there is no any error, there is no any business rule exception. So it will update here the success status, and the remarks will be item processed. Okay, so what can we do? So we'll have to delete this. Okay, and in the true section we will take one write sale activity. So write sale activity will write the content which you are going to pass to the Excel. So we can take this workbook section, this one, because if you'll take this Excel section under this one, then we need to use the Excel application scope, but I am not going to use that. So I am going to use this one workbook under this, and we are directly going to pass here in config, and the I need to pass this transition XLS file location. So for that, let me check the name in the config file. of this location. So we have this one, copy this, and we need to pass here in the config. Okay, so in config UI demo input file dot toString. Same as this, we have the seat name. So let me copy the seat name here, input seat name. So because we are going to read the configuration file from the dictionary, so we are using this in config, because you can see here the in config argument type is dictionary. So we have all the config data inside this dictionary. Now take this dot to string, and the cell content will be success. Okay, so we are using this success, and that should be updated here. That should be written to the D column D2, right? And that will be success. So here the cell is showing here A1, but we have to the write here dynamic something like, so that every time once it is success, so based on that it will write here, it will add one by one, it will go to the at the last. So we have the number, that is transaction number. So we'll take here the column name, that is D. So in the bracket double quotation D plus in transaction so I believe we have the out. So let me check here in the arguments what transaction number we have. So we have the IO transaction number, so we just have to take here IO transaction number, and IO transaction number we'll have to write here, and then dot toString. Okay, so this time it will have the D1. First time it will have the transaction number, the starting with the default value 0, so it will have the D1 D0, but we need to update here the D2, because the cell, you can see here the cell number is D2, so we can write here plus 2. Okay, and we can just take open and close bracket. Okay, and then okay, so what will happen once this is success, it will write the success message to D2, right? So D2 is this one, D2, you can see this D2, so it will write here success. And let's suppose the transaction number is 5, then it will write here in the D5. So this number will be let's suppose is 3, then it will have the plus 2. And now it is success here, and we have to take one more, because we are going to take one remarks here. So we'll copy this and paste here, the same right cell we'll take here, so that we can use for the remarks. Okay, let me paste here and then drag and drop inside this. Okay, and we need to just change the column name, that is E. So this time it will update the remarks here, that will be E2. So there will no changes, only will update the column name and the success remarks. So we'll have item processed. Okay, now we'll go to the, and I'm going to show you one more thing here. You can see the add transaction log fields. As I already told you about the the transaction ID and transaction field 1 field 2 that was used in the get transaction item in that workflow, and I told you this is for the logging purpose. So that field used here in the this XML file, that is logf transaction ID, so it will have this value transaction ID field 1 field 2, and then it will add the transaction log fields, and then here it will log another message and then remove the transaction log file. Now save this, and now coming to the business rule exceptions, as you have seen we have thrown a message that we used a throw activity. So once we are getting an error, let me check here arguments. Okay, we have the data row, so we can change here and write here system dot data dot data row. So condition will be true, then it will go here. So this is the activity of queue, so we'll remove this, and again we'll take the write cell activity. I am using the same thing which I used in the success, and the input file will be the same, seat name will be same, and this will be also same. Only we need to change here for the business rule exception, that will be skipped. So if we are getting any business rule exception, so that will be skipped as per the requirement. Let's suppose the client or the business analyst has told you to skip that item if the number is not numeric, so it will skip that item and it will write here the message that is skipped in the status, and then we'll take one more write cell activity to update the remarks. So this time the remarks will be the same which we have written in the throw activity here, this one, new business rule exception. So what we have to write here, we have the business rule exception variable. Okay, so we have the in underscore business rule exception, so we can take that arguments in business rule exception dot message. Okay, so it will write the business rule exception message which we are getting from the throw activity. So this time let's change the column name, so it will be E, because we are going to update here. And now let me go to the handle system error. So before that, let me copy the both things, copy the sequence and go to the handle system error, and again we are going to check here for the condition. We'll remove this UI path .co.queue items. So if you are not using queue, so we have to remove these things. So we'll write here system dot data row and press OK, and everything will be the same. This set queue try, this one, but only we need to remove this set transaction status, because you have seen here set transaction status is a part of queues orchestrator. So we can remove this and we can paste that sequence here for the handle system error or update system error. So once there is a error, it will go to the true section and it will write here failed, or yes, it will write here failed, or you can just write fail here. So the cell will be the same D, and here once it will go to the error, then it will update the error which we are getting in the application or due to the selector or anything like that, we can update here. So again we have the variable, we have the arguments, that is in system error because we are going to get that error, so we can just change here in underscore system error dot message. So it will update that message to this column against the records. Now here it shows that in transaction number dot retry. Okay, so this retry, as you know that this is the part of in transaction item dot retry. No, it means the number. So this is coming from the orchestrator queue, so this is not required. We can remove this. And now this is the same. We have the transaction application exceptions, all these things, field 1, field 2, field 3, and this one will be same. It will retry if we have this set 1 in the config file here in the constants, then it will retry up to the 1 time. And if you will update 2, then if there is an error due to the application exception or anything, or due to the selector, then that will be retried. And as you have seen here, we have the take a screenshot activity, so that will take a screenshot also. And after that, at the last, you can see here. Okay, so now everything is done. Close this, save this, and this one also save. Oh, so now save, import the arguments from there, and let's see which type of. Okay, so now here we are getting in transaction item is nothing, so we'll have to remove this. This will not be nothing, this will have the variable that is transaction item, and press OK and save this. And now one more warning message we have here. So let's see where are we getting. So we are getting here in the process XML. We can see here the transaction item. We can update this transaction item, press OK, save this. Now let's come here, and now we need to ensure that we are not missing anything. And let me check here in the AND process what we are using. We are using the close applications. Okay, so we are not using anything here, so we can use the kill process activity, the one for the Excel and the second for the UI demo exe. So we are just updating here the process name for the Excel. So Excel will be closed. Okay, so we need to cut and paste here the process name, and here we are going to also close this application which we are going to use. So the process name is UI demo. Okay, now close this and save this, close. Now it seems everything is done. Let's save this and run this again, Control F5. So now you can see that it shows that every time it is just trying to open the application, closing the applications, right? So let's stop this and let's see what is the error. In the output section, we can see here reading input from the data from the Excel records had been added to the data table. Opening application opened successfully. Assign transaction field 1 object reference set to. Okay, so we are getting an error processing transaction number 0. So for that, what can we do? We have to check in the get transaction status, and here also in transaction, if transaction number less than this one, then it will go to the process transaction, and here it will check in the open workflow if in transaction number is less than IO transaction dot count. Okay, so so the issue is here that we are passing now.toString to the transaction ID, but we have to pass the transaction number to the transaction ID. So for that we'll have to pass here, instead of transaction ID we'll take here the out transaction item, and the value will be IO, like the data, and then the transaction number. So we'll have the in transaction number, we'll pass this and we'll see it's working or not. Now save this, and as you can see here we have passed here our transaction field to this value, our transaction item dot item cash-in. The same as that you can also pass here, but we need to pass these things here in the transaction item, and here the transaction item is nothing if it is false. Now close this and run this and check here, control F5. Okay, so first time you have seen here the item is putting here. Now the second time you are you can see here the non-numeric value also it is trying to put here. So let me close this and see what is the error. Like stop this, and let me open the process transaction here, and I believe there is a issue in the condition while checking the is numeric value. So I believe it is not going to check these items. So for the time being we are just removing this and trying with only one field, that is cash-in. So if it has the non-numeric value, then it should not post in this field in the UI demo exe. So for that let me remove these things. Now close this, and I believe now this time there is no error, will not get any error, and it will work properly. Control F5. So it will open the application. First item has been inserted here. Okay, second was skipped due to the non-numeric value, right? So now the that is working fine, there is no issue. So by this way we can ignore the non-numeric values and we can mark that as exception. And let's suppose now I am clicking here in the withdrawal, so that will update as a application exception, the system error exception. So let's see what's going to happen. It will close that application and then it will open another one, and it will try to post that again. You can see here in the output section that throw records are non-numeric. Okay, first time we got that error, then it closed that and it's trying to put here again the another records. So by this way we can read the data from the Excel sheet and store to the data table and process each item. So we can apply the business rule exception to it, and we can update the status to each records. Now the process has been stopped. You can see the output here. There was the error and exception retry 0. First time it will retried. Then the screenshot also kept on this location, and then item number 20, 24, 25. The last one was the business rule exception. Okay, closing application and ended. Now let me open the transaction XLS file and let's see. Okay, now you can see here there's no alphabeticals here in these columns, so that's why it's success and item process. And here there is a non-numeric value, that's why it is skipped, and records are updated as a remarks. Records are not numeric, cannot process. This is failed due to that time we closed the application. That's why we are getting error, cannot find the UI element corresponding to the selector. So I hope you are able to understand this, and you can automate this project using reef framework and take the input from the Excel and write the status to the Excel, that the status and remarks to the Excel file. I hope you like this video, and in the next video we'll learn how to work with the database in UiPath and how to connect UiPath with the database and get the data from there. So this time our input source will be the database. So before working on that, please install the SQL server in your system so that you can read the data from the database. You can create the table, you can store the data into the database and get one by one the records from there and update the status to the database, that table. Okay, so one by one I will tell you everything in this tutorial. So I hope you like this. If you have not subscribed this channel, then please subscribe, and if you have any question, please comment on this video, and you can send a mail on my email ID uipathr@gmail.com, and please like this video. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching this video.